Hi, my name is Pat O'Connor, and this is the second video if you count the welcome message. So in case you missed that, I'm going to just repeat a couple of things that I said in there. These videos are going to focus on AI training. If you're an engineer and you're watching these, some of it may be applicable to you. But as a general rule, I'll be talking about not infrastructure things, but creating data sets for large language model LLM creators that they will then feed into their model to train them. So there can be audio, visual, like ask the model to what happened at the 10-second mark in a video. The audio, carry on a conversation with the model and make sure they can understand different accents and that type of thing. You can have step-by-step reasoning tests. You can have pattern recognition. There's just an unlimited number of things. And some of them you try and make the model fail. Some of them you will evaluate the answers that they give to a prompt that you wrote, and then rate which one has the better answer and why. There's a lot of those around. So you can get paid per task or per hour. So one thing you have to be aware of, that the payment may be based on an estimated time that it would take someone to complete a task. And if you're slow, or if they underestimate that amount of time, you will have uncompensated time. For example, if they estimate it may take someone an hour and a half or 2 hours to write a prompt that will effectively have the model make a mistake. So they may say 2 hours, and that's what you're paid will be. They may say, okay, your base pay is $30 an hour. So for this task, we will pay you $60 an hour because we think it will take 2 hours to do. Well, if it takes you 3 or 4 hours, too bad. You have to either work faster or accept that that is just part of the job. That if you're paid by the hour, it's great. If you're paid by the task, you're going to have uncompensated time, and it's just part of the game. Please read your payment. When they accept you into a project, they'll say, this is how we're going to pay you. I made the mistake of not reading it because I just thought, well, everything will be fair. And just to throw this in, I was on a project where I was an editor, and there were writers, and we had to onboard the ones, we had to mentor them. We were paid an hour for mentoring time. When the project started, they had up to 10 retries to write a prompt that would fail the model effectively. And so that was okay. We could let them run 10 times. But then they kind of changed the rules in the middle of the project, and it was like, don't let them do more than 2 times. And one of the clauses that we agreed to when we joined the project was that if the writer dropped out, we were paid nothing. So they had to create a project a prompt that would be accepted by the client. So you could work hours. You have an hour of mentor time. Usually your first feedback to them, that might be 45 minutes or an hour, because you're very precise, because some of the guidelines are very particular and you have to make sure that everything's aligned. And then they could, when it started, have up to 8 subsequent retries, and you might spend 10 minutes on each of those. So that may all add up to 3 or 4 hours, where if the writer decides to drop out, just because they're frustrated and it may not be a reflection on you, you don't get paid. So I would suggest be wary of those projects if you're editing. It's tough. It cuts into your ability to pay your bills. So anyway, so that's if you're a writer, it's per task or per hour, or editors. I think QA people that check the tasks may be based more on the time it takes for them to check, or they may also be task or hour. I'm generally an editor on these, although I have been a writer in some circumstances. So when you join, you also, if you send in your application, you might send it in for writer, editor, QA, quality assurance position, and there's also something called specialty domain specialists. And that's plus or minus in terms of putting that on your application. Say you have a master's degree in linguistics and you put that on your application. All right, I'm applying for a linguistics position. You may get buttonholed into just doing linguistic positions and not being able to work on the generalist positions that don't take specialized knowledge. And so you might be sitting around waiting for a project for a while. So you'll have to weigh the pros and cons of that. It depends on how often a linguistic need comes up. I don't know. I just read chat groups where people have been waiting a long time to get onto projects. They tend to pay more because there's specialized information, but there may be scarcer projects. So I am a generalist. At that point, you can work on pretty much everything but the STEM projects, which require, the science, the technology, the mathematics type of backgrounds. If you see a listing and it says expert, they are looking for someone with a master's degree or a Ph.D. If they're legal ones, they usually want degree lawyers, J.D. in the U.S. Medical ones, they can be looking for MDs, sometimes nurses, and they will pay accordingly. Those jobs pay very, very well, per hour. So if you're one of them in one of these professions, this domain specialist, you can make quite a good living doing this, although you're probably making quite a good living anyway. But it's great. Again, you're part of the revolution. You're making a difference. You're helping to ensure that the data that gets delivered to the common folk, like, please tell me why my side is hurting. And so if you're an MD, you can give valid answers to that rather than having the model get their information off the internet and then, repeating that type. So there is a nice, useful, good for mankind purpose in doing these tasks. There may be time between projects for everyone because companies like Mindrift and Outlier have to wait for clients with the big models to suggest projects to them. They may come in and say, okay, I want 1,000 prompts and answers in such and such type of scenario. And so that may be a pilot test. And then if they like the results and they want to move forward, maybe they'll order 10,000, evaluated prompts. So that's how it goes. Projects can be short, projects can be long. It all depends on what the client wants. And that can lead to a lot of confusion at the beginning because a client, based on the prompts that we deliver at the beginning, may start tweaking the guidelines. Okay, so you have to stay as a writer, as an editor, you have to stay current with what the guidelines are. And they can start tweaking them, every day at the beginning till they start fine-tuning and narrowing the scope of what they're looking for. So that's one thing to be careful of, that it's a changing environment based on the client's needs. And there may be lags between projects, so everybody in the admins will tell you, don't rely on this as your sole income. If you need, a steady paycheck, this may not be it. Everything that I do is freelance and remote. So it's great because you can have a full-time job and do these at night. There's usually no requirement that you have to clock in, that you have to do a certain amount of hours. You can work on multiple projects. If you're within a company, they don't really care, is my experience. Nobody really cares for the most part if you are working for multiple companies. It's kind of expected because they know there's lags between projects. So the more eggs you have in your basket, the better off you are. You may love working for one company, but then all of a sudden there's a drought and there's no projects and you can't go on that vacation that you were hoping you could go on. So keep it in mind. I strongly recommend applying to multiple companies. I strongly recommend accepting tasks that may show up, inviting people to join once you're already on board a company. That's how you'll get aware of new projects that are available. You'll get an email, or there's chat groups. Mindrift uses Discord, Outlier uses Discourse, and projects may be announced there. All of a sudden, you may see your name on a channel, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm on that project now. That's good. So you go in and you read the guidelines and you can start working. Sometimes, again, the client will come in, they'll have an urgent need. The admins don't have time to send out emails to everybody. So boom, your name goes on the okay list for a channel and you're on the project. So that's what this video is just stressing. Be versatile. Don't depend on one company, one project. The pay can be very good, and I'll get into some of that later. But read the payment agreement. Again, be wary if they say, okay, this is one, you're going to be mentoring, oh, the rate's really high because these are hard projects. But hey, the writer may also get really frustrated because they're not getting compensated for all the time they're spending. It could be, paid per task and not paid per hour. So they may be spending endless hours trying to get a model to fail when they first start. You get better at it. You learn the weaknesses and you learn how to exploit them. But it can be quite frustrating in the beginning and before it turns into fun. All right, I will get together with you again. And if you enjoy these, please follow, please subscribe. My website URL is in the description of this video. So I will see you later. Thank you. Bye.